Someone next to you is eating an apple. That's it. That's the whole thing. For most people, this is nothing just background noise. You'd have to point it out before they even noticed. For some people, something else happens. Their chest goes tight, their jaw locks, their heart speeds up, and underneath it comes something that feels a lot like rage. Not annoyance. Rage! And here's the strange part. They know it makes no sense. They know the person eating has done nothing wrong. They know exactly how they'd sound if they said anything. So they manage it instead. They turn the music up, they move seats, they find a reason to go and check something in the kitchen. And when none of that works, they just leave the room. For a long time, nobody could explain why this happens. When somebody finally did, the answer turned out to be much stranger than anyone was expecting. There's a name for this. It's called misophonia. The word was built in 2001 by two researchers called Powell and Margaret Yastreboff. It comes from Greek. Misos means hate. Phone means sound. Hatred of sound. Both halves of that name are wrong. Two things people get mixed up straight away. The first is that this isn't about volume. There's a separate condition for that, where loud sounds physically hurt. This isn't that one. Someone with misophonia can stand next to a road drill and be completely fine. Then somebody opens a packet of crisps 3 tables away and they have to get up and leave. The second is that their hearing is normal, tested and measured. There is nothing wrong with their ears. So, whatever this is, it isn't happening in the ears. The first proper brain scan study came in 2017. Researchers put 20 people with misophonia in a scanner, then 22 people without it. Then they played them sounds. Neutral sounds like rain and a busy cafe, unpleasant sounds like a baby screaming, and trigger sounds, chewing, breathing. The unpleasant sounds bothered everybody. That's what unpleasant means. But the trigger sounds did something else entirely. In the misophonia group, one small area lit up hard. It's called the anterior insula. It sits deep in the brain. One of its jobs is deciding what matters right now, what needs your attention, what might be a threat. In everybody else, chewing barely registered there. In the misophonia group, it went off like an alarm. And their bodies agreed. Heart rate up, skin response up. This wasn't a mood or an attitude, it was physical, and you could measure it. But this was only half the answer. The other half took another 4 years. The same researcher went back to the trigger sounds, and he noticed something everyone had walked past. Almost every trigger comes from a face. Chewing, slurping, breathing, lip smacking, throat clearing, all sounds made by mouth. So he looked somewhere nobody had looked, not the hearing part of the brain, the part that controls your own mouth when you move it. And in people with misophonia, that area was wired more strongly to the insula. Here's why that matters. When you watch somebody do something, part of your brain quietly copies the movement. It's why you wince when someone else stubs their toe. Watch a person yawn and you'll feel it in your own jaw. Watch someone bite into a lemon and your mouth reacts before you've decided anything. You don't choose any of that. It happens on its own. So the findings suggest this. Hearing someone chew makes a misophonic brain act as if it is doing the chewing itself. Not listening to their mouth, borrowing it. That's the current best guess. It isn't proven yet, but it explains 2 things that never made sense. Why a stranger eating in a film is fine, and your own brother eating is unbearable, and why some people are set off just by watching, with the sound completely off. Which is also why the name is wrong. It isn't hatred. The emotions people report are anger and disgust, and they arrive before any thought does. And it isn't really about sound at all. It's about movement. So how common is this? In 2024, researchers surveyed 4,000 adults across the United States. 4.6% had misophonia badly enough to disrupt their lives. Then, the same study asked a wider question. How many people are sometimes bothered by sounds like this? 78.5%. Sit with those two numbers for a second. Almost everybody finds these sounds annoying now and then. A much smaller group has something that runs their life, and nobody has agreed where one ends and the other begins. That's why other studies come out anywhere between 5% and 50%. They aren't measuring different countries, they're measuring different definitions. In fact, researchers only sat down and agreed what misophonia is in 2022, 21 years after it got its name. And it's still not listed in the main diagnostic manuals, not because anyone doubts it's real, because nobody has finished arguing about which shelf it belongs on. Here's what this looks like, day to day. People with misophonia stop eating with other people. They sit at the back in meetings. They avoid buses and trains. They take lunch in the car or at their desk with headphones on, or they skip it. And when a situation can't be avoided, they sit through it. Sitting through it costs something every single time. None of this is visible from outside. What other people see is somebody who doesn't come to dinner, somebody who always has a reason not to. Misophonia usually starts young, childhood, or the early teens. And the most common first trigger is somebody eating. Now think about who you eat with when you're 9 years old. It's family. It's almost always family. So the first person whose chewing makes a child want to run from the room is usually their mother, or their father, or the brother sitting right across the table. And the child can't explain it. They don't have a word for it. Nobody in that house has a word for it. They don't know it's a thing. They don't know anyone else has it. As far as they can tell, they are the only person alive who feels this way about their own family. So, it comes out as anger at dinner, as storming off, as what looks like rudeness night after night for years. And they get told what everybody gets told. You're overreacting. It's just eating. Stop making a scene. Now, out of everyone in that study found to have misophonia, only 5.8% had ever asked anyone for help. Not 5.8% got better. 5.8% asked. The rest carried it quietly, and most of them decided the problem was them. It can be treated, by the way, not cured, reduced. The first proper treatment study ran in 2017. 90 people, 8 group sessions. About half came out meaningfully better. The approach isn't what you'd guess. It isn't about forcing yourself to sit through the sound until it stops mattering. Most of the work goes on attention and on calming the body down before the reaction takes hold. Half isn't everything, but for something that had no name until 2001, half is a start. So, the apple. If somebody eating one next to you does nothing at all, you're most of the world. And if it makes you want to leave the room, you're not rude, you're not broken. Your brain is treating a mouth as an emergency, and nobody has fully worked out why. Tell me in the comments which sound is yours. There's usually a specific one. And if your answer is none of them, go and ask whoever you live with. You might find they've had one for 20 years and never said so. Subscribe if you want more names for things you thought were only you.